All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the voice of college football. This is Mark Rogers TV. I am Ben Belden coming at you after a Notre Dame win over the North Carolina Tar Heels. Irish in a shootout that I don't know that anybody necessarily expected. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I didn't expect Notre Dame to put up 45 points today. Regardless, Notre Dame wins the shootout. What was the final score? 45-26. A lot of good things we saw from the Notre Dame football team today, especially on the offensive side of the ball, which obviously was, the biggest worry of Notre Dame fans coming into the game. So we're going to talk here briefly tonight. We got a couple listeners already, and hopefully we get a few good comments in here. We can talk about comments, maybe open up the phone lines if we feel like we've got enough, and talk real quick for about the next half hour or so, and then hope to do another show in the next coming days. So that's kind of the agenda. Again, like I say, real happy with, in general, how Notre Dame looked on this particular one. I know we've got a few games finishing up. We've got a Florida-Tennessee game finishing up on CBS right now. Volunteers trying to hold on there. Washington State is up 34-28 on Oregon right now on Fox. So as you guys kind of come over from those games, we welcome you here to talk some Notre Dame football. Again, this is the voice of college football, Mark Rogers TV, and I'm your host, Ben Belden. So before we talk Notre Dame football, I rambled here at the beginning as we kind of wait for some people to get in here. Thanks to those of you that are in here already. Make sure that you are liking, commenting, subscribing to the Notre Dame channel. A lot of people are subscribed to maybe Mark's real big channel, the original channel at Mark Rogers TV, and the overall channel that he has. Make sure that you're subscribing to Notre Dame's channel as well. That's what we're live on right now. We want to get those subscribers up, and so that we can do a nice post-game show every week here, so that is well interacted with, and so we have more people in here asking questions, talking, and then if we have enough people, like I say, I like to open up the phone lines, but if there aren't that many people, and I don't really know that's worth it. So. Also, I know I said the score is 45-26. I forgot about that touchdown. North Carolina tacked on there at the end, so I got to correct myself already. Notre Dame wins this game 45-32 going away. All right, couple box score things to point out that I think are are good things, are things worth talking about. Drew Pine, 24 of 34, 289 yards, 3 scores. Audric Estime, 17 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Could have had a third if he didn't fumble right there at the end of the game with about 3:20 left. Chris Tyree, 15 carries, 80 yards, a touchdown. Logan Diggs, 10 carries, 50 yards. Drew Pine carried it 6 times for 20 yards. Braden Lindsey had a carry for one carry for 7 yards. And there we go. Michael Mayer, big game for Big Mike. 7 receptions, 88 yards and a score. Lorenzo Styles, 5 receptions, 69 yards and a score. Logan Diggs, 3 receptions, 65 yards and a score. Jaden Thomas, 2 receptions, 24 yards. Chris Tyree, 4 receptions, 24 yards. Braden Lindsey, 2 receptions, 12 yards. Matt Salerno, 1 reception, 7 yards. Awesome day for the Notre Dame offense today. Awesome day. I think if you followed me throughout the game, which if you, my Twitter handle is right there on the screen at Real B Belden. That last name is Belden. You know that one of the things that I've been talking about on Twitter, and like I say, if you're not following, please give me a follow over there. I'd really appreciate it. But one of the things that I've been very vocal about on Twitter, if you follow me, is just the idea that Notre Dame's offense hasn't been nearly as good as what you would hope through 3 games, through the second edition of Tommy Rees post Brian Kelly, doing what he does, all of that type of stuff. And so I think that, what I was calling for more or less was the fact that Notre Dame needs to throw the ball down the field to loosen the other teams. And today, obviously, it was North Carolina. To loosen the other team's defense at the very least. They need to get guys like Lorenzo Styles going. They need to get guys like Jaden Thomas going. I still want to see more Tobias Merriweather. We might talk about that quickly here in a few minutes. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I saw Tobias Merriweather on the field for Notre Dame today. But Notre Dame needs to get the ball moving vertically down the field. There needs to be a vertical aspect to this team so that it opens up, it gets guys out of the box. It allows the run game to take over like it did today. It allows Michael Mayer to be open on some of those over the middle type of plays if you know that there are guys that can beat you on the top end of the defense. And Notre Dame, at the very least, needed to take some shots with the quarterback. I had some discussions with some people on Twitter, frankly, throughout the week about whether Drew Pine is capable of taking those shot plays. The bottom line is the quarterback, you saw it today, the quarterback taking some shots and throwing the ball down the field absolutely has a lot to do with why Notre Dame was able to run the ball today, why why Michael Mayer had a bigger day over the middle doing what he does. There was some stretch to this Notre Dame offense that you just hadn't seen from Notre Dame the first 3 weeks. For goodness sake, Notre Dame's first game against Ohio State, the only way they moved the ball was on a couple of big plays. Kind of a busted play where Lorenzo Styles got out of there and wriggled away for 50 some yards on the first play of the game. A big play to Matt Salerno. But Notre Dame needed to hit on some big plays. They needed to at least throw the ball down the field. I think there was a stat going around Twitter that when Irish receivers caught the ball against Cal, they were an average of less than a yard away from the line of scrimmage, which is just baffling to me. And I was very, very pleased to see Notre Dame move the ball down the field, take some shots. It got Estime going. Estime was tremendous throughout the day. After maybe a sluggish first quarter from the Notre Dame offense, I guess you could say. And the offensive line, no bad things to say about the offensive line at the moment. I mean, I think it was, again, started the game a little bit sluggish, but as things opened up for the offensive line and for Estime, you saw Notre Dame's offense do some really good stuff. Again, it's complementary football, and I think what I hope happened from today, what I hope Tommy Rees learned today was that complementary football can mean a couple of different things. It doesn't matter if you start on the ground that opens up the pass or you start with the pass that opens up the ground. It doesn't matter if you are, it doesn't matter where it starts, but Notre Dame needed to get something going. They needed to get some sort of explosiveness going, and finally they did. I think, towards the beginning of the first quarter, they were starting to move the ball a little bit. First play of the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken, they go out, they run a nice little, kind of a play action wheel route type of a play down the sideline, and hit on a big chunk play for about 40 yards. I think that might have been to Logan Diggs. And from there, Notre Dame really, really rolled. After getting down 7-0, the announcers made the point that Notre Dame rattled off a nice little 38-7 run to go up 38-14. I don't love how Notre Dame didn't close the way that I generally would like them to close this particular game. Gave up a score, gave up some big plays there to give up scores at the end to make this one look even a little closer than it was, but even though that was still not exactly close. But all in all, good things from the Notre Dame offense. Finally, then, speaking of the offense, and I'll sort of close out my thoughts about Notre Dame's offense by saying this. There was some discussion on Twitter during the game. Is Notre Dame's offense playing that well? Is Notre Dame's offense really taking a step forward, or is North Carolina just that bad? And I have some opinions on this. It's sort of hard to tell, to be honest with you. But I think the correct answer, quite frankly, is a little bit of both. A little bit of both. If Notre was terrible, 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 playing awful on offense, it doesn't matter who you're playing with on defense. Notre Dame took advantage of a defense that was getting itself out of position quite a bit. But they were getting themselves out of position quite a bit because Tommy Rees was calling some good stuff that got some good complimentary stuff that had North Carolina on its heels, and frankly because North Carolina isn't very good. Okay, so I mean there's a little bit of give and take here. Tommy Rees had a really good day calling the game, in my opinion. Had North Carolina, like I say, on its heels, able to run the football. Guys on offense were, the offensive line was firing off and hitting people. Audric Estime looks every bit as good as advertised. And again, I know North Carolina is not very good. And so I guess what needs to happen, what we need to see is now go into the bye week, regroup, catch your breath after a 2-2 start, a tumultuous start, and now take what worked, hone in it a couple goals, and let's go beat BYU in Vegas here in a couple of weeks. Those are my overall feelings on this particular game. And so again, was Notre Dame that good offensively today, or is North Carolina that bad? There are some teams that are so bad on offense that they can't score 45 points on air. And I think Notre Dame actually left a few points out there, to be honest with you. Obviously, the Estime fumbling on like the 1-inch line is not great. And as I said on Twitter, around the goal line, I've been a little bit worried about Estime's, ball handling and ball security. And I'm glad he learned that lesson, that on first down, you don't need to reach the ball around the goal line where the defenders are trying to knock it out of your hands and whatnot. You don't need to do that, especially on first down. If it's fourth down, then yeah, reach the ball. But he learned that lesson today while they were up 3 scores in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left, and not in a game that's close, in a game where they really need that score there at the end. Don't love the quarterback sneak that they called at some point in the either late third quarter, early fourth quarter, when it was fourth and, about a half yard or so. Drew Pine's not a quarterback sneak quarterback. That might work if the defense isn't ready for it, or if you can quick snap it, you get those yards, but you're just not going to get that with Drew Pine in that instance. Notre Dame was driving in that particular instance as well. You get that fourth down, and you might drive that in for a touchdown, have a good shot at a field goal, what have you. Notre Dame missed a field goal today. So I genuinely feel like you left double-digit points at the very least out there, and you still walked away with 45 points after scoring 24 in the second quarter and 13 in the fourth quarter, and then in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, you just absolutely played ball control football, and and kind of went from there. You'll have to excuse me a little bit. I'm in the studio this evening with my dog Rocket, who is a Notre Dame boy himself, but we keep him kind of in the studio with us while we're recording these, because he might do some barking if he's out wandering the whole house in the neighborhood that I live in. So had to check on him for a hot second. So all in all, a really good game for Notre Dame's offense. Again, like I say, I can't, even though North Carolina is very, very poor defensively, I can't fault anything that Notre Dame did today, and that's exactly what Notre Dame needed. Notre Dame needed one like this to, to at the very least, when they play a better opponent, to get some confidence, to have a little bit more experience, a few more reps against someone in another jersey. And this was a tremendous day, a tremendous game from Notre Dame to be able to do that. The one thing that I would have loved to have happened is for this game to have, once Notre Dame goes up, for instance, 45-20, if Notre Dame gets a stop there and they've got the ball up 25 with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, might have seen some Steve Angeli, might have seen some Tobias Merriweather, might have seen a little bit more Eli Raritan. I know he was kind of on there. He was in the game at different points, but might have seen him featured a little bit, might have seen him get to run some routes. Didn't get to see that, and that's maybe the one drawback that I have, the one nitpicky thing that I have about this particular game was that, Notre Dame just didn't quite finish exactly how you would want. But all in all, I'll take it. Getting to some comments here. We had one earlier from Cade Connors. How are you feeling about the quarterback? I thought Drew Prime played really well today. I thought, and part of that is a product of North Carolina's defense. I totally get it. I really do. They gave him some throws early that got him going. They were off on Mayer. They lost Mayer on some play action. They they gave the receivers some cushion and they played back and it let him get into a rhythm. But all in all, he got into a rhythm. 24 of 34, 289, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions is a pretty decent stat line, especially when you consider how effectively Notre Dame ran the football as well. So I mean, Drew Pine, probably his best game in a Notre Dame uniform, if we're being honest. BYU is going to be a different animal. BYU is going to try to do some different things to Drew Pine that's going to make him make some quicker decisions, some better decisions with the football. But all in all, I don't think Drew Pine made any bad decisions today. He had the one play in the first quarter where he kind of threw into some deep double coverage, but I thought that was a shot worth taking anyway. And I'm good that we're looking down the field. Trevor, good win going into the bye week. Absolutely. Yeah, Clay, I'm on the same page with you. He says when we were up 3 touchdowns, Angeli should have gone out there and got some real practice. I mean, it was 45-20, and then North Carolina scored to make it 45-26. And it was a 3-score game. I tweeted, up 3 scores. I think you can probably get Angeli out there with Merriweather and company, but I don't, the way there's a lot of time left, and you go 3 and out right there, and now North Carolina has the ball. 3-score game with 9 minutes left, for instance. I don't love it. So I don't fault Kelly for, oh boy, what did I just say? I don't fault Freeman, the coach, the new coach, for leaving the first teamers out on that one. Once again, the officials were horrendous. JD Bertrand, let me talk about this for a second, because I'm honestly running out of stuff to talk about raw here after the game. JD Bertrand was called for a targeting penalty in the second half of this game that absolutely is not targeting. I don't know the answer to, can Notre Dame go back and and petition and review that and have that rescinded? I think the answer might be yes to that, to be honest with you. I don't see how that's targeting. If Bertrand hit the helmet of that receiver, he nicked the face mask of that receiver. Didn't lower the head, didn't hit with the crown of helmet, hit the receiver in the shoulder for the most part, maybe got a little bit of the underside of the face mask, but just barely, like talking like paint scrapes here. I don't know. Bad call. That penalty on the North Carolina receiver where he spins the ball, that's weak. I mean, as the announcers were saying, I don't know that the official isn't just put in a bad position there. He's supposed to flag it, even though it's not a big deal. Had to throw that flag in that particular instance. Still having trouble playing all 4 quarters. I kind of agree. But that's human nature to a certain degree. I think that offensively, Estime was feeling himself there in the fourth quarter. At one point, Notre Dame had gone to like 12 straight runs. Estime is just doing whatever he wants, turns it over. Notre, I don't know. And 4th and 21, giving up that big play is just bad. But I think, there's a little bit of human nature in Cam Hart there. who should have gotten probably a little bit more depth, as I thought the announcers really explained pretty beautifully. Where they were in a cover 2 there, he's got the kind of everything in front of him, and then there's safety help over the top, and the help over top, was also looking at a guy running down the seam. If Hart goes there and just stays a little deeper, he can come up and make the play, but he was trying to make a bigger play than, on that player in the flat, and obviously North Carolina got loose for that touchdown. I wanted to talk about this actually a little bit. So thanks, Johnny, for this comment. Pine is inaccurate on the move. Really needs to lock that in. He gets it there, but it should be a lot cleaner. I don't know. I kind of agree and disagree. There are certainly some times where, for instance, I believe on Michael Mayer's touchdown, and actually doesn't throw a very good ball on that one in terms of, Mayer was wide open and he really had to extend to make that catch and then eventually run it in for the touchdown. That's not one where Pine was moving. I know that's not exactly what you're talking about. There are some times where Pine's a little bit inaccurate, where it's just like, oh boy, I don't know. We've seen him miss receivers as well. We saw him miss Mayer for a big play early in last week's game. We've seen some misses from Drew Pine, certainly. However, I think it's worth mentioning that, the kid has not started many games. Is this his second actual start? I believe it's his second actual start, unless I'm absolutely out of my mind. I know he came in against Wisconsin and played admirably against Wisconsin when Jack Cohn got hurt last year. Drew Pine doesn't have the experience, and we've seen in a limited sample size that it's going to continue to get better. And he's been better. He looked down the field today, whether that's a microcosm of, Tommy Rees calling it, whether that's a microcosm of, Drew's had more reps in practice now, so now he feels better calling those shot plays. Whatever the situation is, the Irish offense with Drew Pine looked a lot better. And Pine looked better throwing the football. He looked more decisive. And you only hope that can continue to improve. Now, again, they've got the bye week. I imagine that, they're going to let those guys go home. They're going to get them back on campus and, work on some of these things, add a couple wrinkles and extended practice time, and sort of see what we can do with this offense, what we can see from this offense, what this offense can be moving forward. And I think they took the first step there today. Again, I've said this a bunch of times, but can't say really anything bad about the offense. There's a couple things, like I say, that you would like to be cleaner, but even in your best offensive performances, you're going to have some of that. Like I say, you'd like to see Notre Dame, get that 4th and 1, maybe run a play other than quarterback sneak in that play, but I digress. So as far as grading out the offense and Tommy Rees today, absolute A, no doubt about it. I won't give it an A+. But more than passing, more than average. Got to keep it going. Got to keep it clean and crisp and rolling for a BYU team that's going to be pretty good. Going to be pretty good on the defensive side of the football. So will be the second best team that Notre Dame has played at this point. BYU will be, without a doubt. So that should be an exciting one to see now that Drew has settled in. He's getting all of the reps. This isn't one of those, he's, getting backup reps and only has a part of the playbook. I hope today is an indication that Pine has the whole playbook, the whole downfield playbook, that Notre Dame feels comfortable calling that with Drew Pine. The receivers have now caught a few passes down the field. I mean, when you look at Notre Dame's receiving stats, which I'll bring up again here real quick, Michael Mayer, long of 20, Lorenzo Styles, long of 30, Logan Diggs had the 34-yard touchdown, 3 receptions for 65 yards for a receiver. And pretty much all of that came in the air. That's awesome. So they hit on some big plays today. Got to keep that going. Even if you're not hitting on some of those big plays, calling them with the confidence that either this is going to be a big play for my team or an incompletion is what Notre Dame has to do. Okay. Because I've been very, very, very vocal about this, that Notre Dame has put their quarterbacks and receivers in bad positions by being run first and then can't go over the top. And then you allow teams to stack the box. The safeties don't have to leave even in on pass plays because you're only running the 4-yard hitch routes and the outs and the slants and the all of that type of stuff. And then that doesn't work. Now you're throwing into a pinhole, and it's you saw Tyler Buckner get picked off against Marshall. All of those things, it just wasn't good complementary football. Today, Notre Dame was able to stretch the offense, get Audric Estime going because they stretched the offense, and because the offensive line is starting to figure it out. You're starting to see the Harry Hiestand aggressiveness come out in those offensive line guys. You're starting to see the mean, nasty dudes that we think those guys can be, and things are working well. Because of all of that complementary stuff. It's not just one thing for Notre Dame. It's got to be complementary. You're not going to go out and you're not going to throw 60 passes and win ball games. You're not going to go out and run the ball 60 times and win ball games. It has to be complementary. And I think it has been it was today. And that's the biggest takeaway here. All right. We've had about 10, 12 people in here. I appreciate those of you that have been tuned in throughout the day, throughout the evening here. I know some games are going on. I have no idea how Ohio State is off. That's a game that I'm going to be looking at. Looks like Oregon is, wrapping up, beating Washington State at this point. Cincinnati got a big win over Indiana, and we've got some other stuff going on. Alabama's hosting Vanderbilt. Looks like they just went up. Looks like Ohio State's about ready to put on another touchdown already, up 7-0. So I know a lot of people want to check out those games. The plan is, frankly, to do another one tomorrow evening. It is obviously Saturday night, right after the Notre Dame game. If you come back and listen to this later, we're really looking to grow this particular channel. I talked today mostly exclusively about the offense. Those are my biggest takeaways. But there's much more to talk about with this Notre Dame football team in terms of recruiting, in terms of what's going on the defensive side of the football, and how things are continuing to progress. Make sure that if you listen to this, you find this later on, or what have you, that you subscribe to this Notre Dame channel. Again, there will be times where this show takes place over on the big college football channel at the voice of college football, MarkRogersTV. But there are times where we're going to be on Notre Dame pretty exclusively. And thus, if you subscribe to this channel, turn on the notifications, you're always going to be reminded that, hey, we're doing a post game and it's live. We're looking at doing some other things potentially with the channel. I've talked to Mark about an audio stream, about a more traditional podcast. And so that might be coming depending on what we can work out. But we appreciate those of you that tune in. Like I say, continue to tell your friends to like, comment, subscribe, share, interact with our stuff. That helps us grow this. And so, again, we want to do some cool stuff here, and therefore, make these post-game things pretty fun. So it's Saturday night. I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to go enjoy another evening of college football, and we'll talk soon, probably tomorrow night. I like to try to see if I can get on most nights on Sunday night after as we wait for Sunday night football and those types of things. So thanks for your interactions. Again, I'm Ben Belden. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that would be great. Helps you kind of stay in tune with some of the things that we're doing here. Yeah, that's all I got. So had another thought there, but I kind of lost it. So good win for the Irish today. Again, thanks for everybody who tuned in, even if it was for a little bit, who commented, and who continues to subscribe and do all of that stuff to make this thing grow. So till next time, go Irish.